This is NTV.
All right, a very good morning to you on this Tuesday. I hope that you're well this morning. Thank you very much, as always, for making time for us. This is Your World. My name is Winnie Lubembe. Now listen to this. The right to education has been globally acknowledged as a right. And in Kenya, the right to education is explicitly provided for in Article 53, Section B of the 2010 Constitution, which guarantees the right to free and compulsory basic education for every child. And Article 54 of the Constitution particularly targets persons with disabilities and provides that they have a right to access educational institutions and facilities that are integrated into society to the extent compatible with their interests and needs. However, there are several gaps, particularly when it comes to inclusion, and of course that will be the subject of our conversation today. How do we then promote inclusion? And of course, what exactly does inclusion look like? Okay, we'll just start from the basics. So if you want to contribute to the conversation, feel free to interact with us. The numbers are down on your screen. Give us a call, and of course, let's have this conversation. If you are a parent with a child with special needs, and of course you have a question for my panel, feel free again to give us a call and ask your question as far as the whole aspect of inclusivity is concerned. But also we're asking you a very important question, all right? And of course, our question of the day is then, how do we promote inclusive education in school systems in the country? Once again, how do we promote inclusive education in school systems in Kenya? As always, the hashtag to use is Your World. Interact with us on our social media platforms, either on Facebook or on Twitter, that is at NTV Kenya, and tag me as well at Lubembe_Winnie on Twitter. And of course, we'll be looking at your feedback during the conversation. Remember, it's all about inclusive and special needs education in the country. So then how do we promote inclusion in our school systems in the country? That is what we want to understand. So like I said, if you are a parent with a child with special needs, and of course you have concern, a question, especially when it comes to their education, this is your conversation today, all right? And of course to all of us as well, so that we can understand their needs. But to help us with the conversation, I am joined on my left, that is by Eva Nyoike, who is the chair, Africa Special Needs Network. It's so good to see you this morning. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having us here.
Karibu sana to the show. And of course, we also have David Waweru Mbao, who is a parent. So good to see you this morning, David. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
All right. And of course, thank you as well for accepting to come and speak to us, especially when it comes to taking care of a child with special needs. Because I'm pretty sure for a very long time we've had this conversation about, parenting a child with special needs. We've seen, unfortunately, some families not being able to take care, especially of their needs, because of that lack of understanding and awareness. So it's a good thing that you're here to help us with the conversation. But before we talk about the conversation, how about we look at some of the numbers that we have, statistics in terms of the number of children who are in school. And of course, how many of them, again, how many special needs schools do we have? So 2.5%, this is the number of children living with disabilities in Kenya, all right? And 17%, that is the school-going children, are not attending school, and this is due to disabilities, all right? 44% rather, this is the percentage of special schools in the country, 45%. Again, this is the integrated schools and special units across the country, but a bigger population, that is 78.28%. This is the percentage rather of head teachers in primary, integrated schools and special units that are not trained in special needs education. 78%. That is quite a big number. And of course, Eva, I'm just going to start with you. Looking at these numbers, what do you make of them?
It's very disheartening, especially since we've been told that you started off by saying it's a right.
Yeah.
It's a right for every child to be in school. And when you look at those figures are real, but I'm sure they are a lot worse than what we have seen.
All right.
Why do I say that? Because who did the data collection and where was it done? Especially when we look at the children who are not in school. We did a survey just a few months ago, and we were targeting caregivers. And it may be a small number, about 800 parents did answer the questionnaire.
All right.
And out of that, it actually indicated that around 58% of those children that we were able to talk to their caregivers were not in school. And it's true, they're not in school because of their disability. So that's the question that we ask. Why are they not in school? And when we talk about free education, why aren't we targeting these children with disabilities? The statistics on the teachers not being trained begs the question, why?
Yeah.
Why are we deploying teachers or head teachers to special schools and they are not trained in these specific areas? Yet we are training teachers left, right, and center through Kenyatta University, KISA. We have teachers who are trained. So why are the teachers being deployed and they are not trained? So what kind of services are they offering if they do not understand the conditions?
Absolutely.
Yeah? So we are in a situation in our country where we really need to revamp. What is special education?
In the first place.
What does it mean?
Yeah.
What does it look like? Yeah. What does it need to be successful?
Yeah.
Then even before we go to inclusive education, because of course now inclusive education is another totally different ball game. Yeah. So the figures are right, but they are kind of watered down. It's much more serious than what has been indicated there.
Clearly, we have a long way.
We do.
You know, long way to go. But of course, it's not that it is impossible. It is possible. It has to be done because again, like we said, it is a right. Education is a right, right? For every child, we do not have a choice.
Yes, we do have a choice, and the choice that is being made right now is not to have a choice. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
But we do have a choice.
We do have a choice.
It's easy to do the right thing, right by the children with special needs.
Absolutely.
It's easier to, why don't we look at the teachers? Who is trained in this field and which school can they go to? Why don't we look at inclusive education? Who is training anyone in inclusive education? We have Kenya Institute of Special Education. Yes, but they're at a diploma level. So how do we take it now to a different level? So that we say, you need to be a principal of a school. This is what is required. So why aren't we doing that? So it is possible. Everything is on the ground. We have the policies. We have beautiful policies that will show us and guide us in how to implement this. But the implementation is not there.
We usually have a big problem when it comes to implementation right here in the country. And of course, you've been in this field for 32 years. I mean, that's a long time, massive experience as far as, you know, dealing with cases as far as education for special children with special needs is concerned. So the perfect person to just help us really understand when we talk about special needs and education for children with special needs, what exactly does that look like and how different it is from this other form of education, you know? But before we talk about that, let's hear from David. David, again, you are a parent to two beautiful girls. You have Tumaini and we also have Imani. And of course, Tumaini, right, has Down syndrome. Looking at the figures, before we talk about taking care of her, looking at these figures and what they say, what do you make of it as a parent?
I will totally concur with Eva. I think those figures, that's on the lower side. On the ground, being here on the ground with the other parents and the other kids, I hardly see any children with disabilities in schools. I've been in this space now going to 13 years. One of the things we say as parents, it's a very lonely space. Number one, not just because we're excluded by the other parents, but also we never see each other. you know, in this space as parents, you know.
true.
And the places to meet is where? Education facilities, you know,
yeah.
social functions. And I never see these kids, you know. So the figures, I will definitely concur with Eva.
Yeah.
They're really,
they're a bit low.
they're very low, to say the least.
Yeah.
Yes.
And of course, we need to work on data as well so that we get the accurate
Definitely.
number, right? And see
Yes.
what is lacking and what can be done. All right, so take us through or talk us about a little bit about Tumaini, right? How is she? What kind of personality does she have? You know, because majority of the times, I was watching another video and we're talking about, again, a girl still with Down syndrome, and they were saying she's the best thing ever. She is the light. She is a star, you know, on her own. So take us through a little bit about Tumaini.
They were not very off the mark.
Yeah.
So Tumaini is 12 years now, preteen, going to 13.
Yeah.
She's this outgoing, bubbly, full of life girl. Obviously, when we got the news at the beginning, it was the opposite. Well, the opposite corner, you know, mourning and thinking it was all going to be gloom and nothing to be happy about.
Yeah.
But it's been a journey. She's really taught us a lot as parents.
Yeah.
I would just like to let people know out there that I think the perception that they have about these children, let me talk about my Tumaini because she has Down syndrome. Very many parents, very many people in society have a very wrong perception and idea about what it's all about.
That's true.
And at the beginning, I got very hurt and I used to get very angry at people. But with time, I think I came to realize that the biggest issue is they're not sensitized. They don't have any knowledge about it, you know.
Yeah.
I will sit, even my own family sometimes at the beginning of this journey, we will sit down and they wouldn't know what to say, you know. But how will a parent then take that to mean, you know? Because even when you're not saying something, you're still saying something.
100%. And of course, it's a joy of every parent to see their
Yes.
child growing up healthy, loved, you know, and appreciated.
Exactly.
But majority of the time, that is not happening. And you said you used to be very angry.
Yeah.
The question might be, why? Is it what people were saying? Is it what they were doing? Is it how they were maybe talking to you or approaching Tumaini? What was that?
It was all the above. It was how they would react to Tumaini and how they will react to me as a parent too.
All right.
Because like I was saying, most of them, the ones who knew better wouldn't say anything, you know, because they don't know what to say. But still, even when they don't say anything,
you're still saying
I'm
something.
still like, so why are they not saying anything, you know? It's still a negative feedback to me. The ones who said something, then they say all the wrong things.
What did they say? Like, what is that one thing or two things that you could remember?
The thing that could never forget, actually came from a professional, from the doctors.
Okay.
Because then the news were broken to us in hospital, and the doctor who did this, to me, to say the least, was very insensitive. And I think it's been 9 months, and you're looking forward, you know, to this bouncing baby, holding your child. You have all these dreams. Some of them we even don't think we have them behind our heads, but they're just there. And then the first thing you hear from the doctor, you know, not even a congratulatory message, you know, like you got a healthy baby, you know what's good. The first thing they just throw at you is this long list of things not to expect. You know, just basically just shattering your dreams, you know. And that to me went down very badly, you know. And I think that's the first place where we first need to have even the doctors. Sure. Because I beg to be correct. I think I'm correct when I say that I don't think that profession is actually handling people. It's treating, all right? So I think even in that sensitization is also very key, even in that sector, you know. So that was one of the things that I really took badly. The other thing is when people kept on telling me that it's going to be okay, you know.
All right.
We can both see it's not going to be okay tomorrow or next week or the next year, you know. And that didn't go down very well, because then it takes you back and makes you think that it's something that can be treated. Because at the beginning, again, you're also looking for information.
Yeah, for all the
so you also don't know,
see.
and you're reaching out for anything.
100%.
And you wish it will be treatable, you know. So when people say the wrong things and take you on the wrong tangent, and then you start building false hopes, and that crushes you even more,
100%.
you know, because I'm trying to get, you can't even, it takes more time to heal.
Yeah.
So it was a dark place. It's a dark place to be in.
And I hear you, and of course that, again, can be a story for so many parents out there who, again, you know, all the societal, you know, judgments and all those things that come at you, and then you don't even know, how do I handle this, because I want to take care of my child as well and offer them the best. Eva, clearly awareness needs to start from
Definitely.
Clearly there's a very big problem, and we're not just talking about education, you know, in a different sense. It starts from there, right?
Yeah. You see, what happens with disability, it cuts across everywhere and everybody. And it doesn't matter who you are, what your profession is. It doesn't matter what color you are, where you live, whether you live in the slums or whether you live in ruin. It does not matter.
Yeah.
It happens to everybody. So what we need to know, first of all, is to accept that these children were not accidents.
No.
They were not mistakes.
Yeah.
As Christians, we believe that God does not make any junk.
Mistake, yes.
No junk at all. Yeah? And everybody is a masterpiece. So once we start looking at it like that, yeah? Once we stop justifying, because those who don't have children with disabilities are the first ones to start telling you it is macho jicho mbaya.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another one is what you drank and smoked when you were pregnant. Another one will tell you it's a curse. Another one will tell you it's. We have myths and misconceptions when it comes to disabilities, and I think those myths and misconceptions are there to protect those who don't have children with disabilities, because they are justifying the fact that Tumaini sasa huyu ametoka wapi, yeah. They're justifying that.
Yeah.
So our place right now is to actually demystify disability.
100%, yes.
Let's demystify disability. Once we demystify disability, we will look at that child as a child first.
Yes.
Once we look at that child as a child first, then we're able to embrace that child, we're able to love that child, and we're able now to move with that child. And this does not just start with the people up there. It starts with the community.
From the basic level.
For us now, what we need to do as ASNEN and ACON, we are talking to community, we are talking to parents. We need parents first to understand, because the society out there, the same society that is telling you unafungia mtoto wako nyumbani, is the same society that is making you fungia huyo mtoto nyumbani. Yes, it's the same person who will look at you and tell you what a careless mother you are, or what a useless father you are. You can't even contain your child's behavior. You can't do, that's why your child was born like this. So we will protect our children with special needs by keeping them at home or taking them to safe places. But right now, if you and I were able to look at this child and not look at the disability.
No, look at the child
imagine
first.
it's possible.
Yeah.
Let's not look at the disability. Let's look at this first as a child. Then once we look at Tumaini is a child first, then what does Tumaini need? The government will come in and say, because of the education part and telling us free education, they'll say this is Tumaini, she's a child first. What does Tumaini need? She needs to be in a school near her home. She does not have to travel miles and miles and miles to go to a special school. She needs to be a school near her home. And Tumaini is a reflection of all the children with special needs and disabilities in this country. She needs to be in a school near her home. What else does Tumaini need? Tumaini needs a teacher who is equipped and trained to be able to meet her educational needs. Yes? That's what Tumaini needs. What else does Tumaini need? Tumaini needs, because she has this condition, Down syndrome, maybe she needs occupational therapy. Yes? So, Baba Tumaini knows that there's occupational therapy in the nearest hospital. Yeah. What else does Tumaini need? She probably needs physiotherapy. Yeah. What else does she need? Because Tumaini is not going to be able to read and write from the blackboard and everything. She needs resources and she needs manipulatives.
Yes.
That is not Baba Tumaini's problem. As much as he's the father, that is the problem of our government. She is a Kenyan child, just like every other child. Yes. What else does Tumaini need? She needs capitation. Yes, to facilitate the school to be able to get the resources. Even if Tumaini, probably the closest school to her is a private school, she still needs that capitation because she's a Kenyan
She's
child.
Kenyan, and yes.
And Baba Tumaini is a Kenyan parent.
100%.
And he needs to get the same services like every other parent. So when the government sits down and looks at it, do you know we will stop calling it special education? Because it is education that is effective and appropriate for Tumaini, and all the Tumainis in this country.
I hear you.
That is what we call special education. But now, because we have embraced Tumaini, we have made sure that she has the proper teachers in her school, paid by the government. Yes, and they have continuous professional development to retool them and equip them with skills, because special education is continuously evolving. It's continuously evolving.
Sure.
So Tumaini should not go to a school where the teacher trained and graduated from Kenya Institute of Special Education in 1984. And from 1984,
up until now, there has not been training happening in between.
I hear
you.
You see? Yeah. So we need to be able to actually get out of that box and say disability. Stop it. Because you are the one who's making that child disabled.
Because she's not getting everything that she needs to access quality education. Because we're not just talking about education just because education, but she needs quality education. How about we take a break on a good note? Such a good note to take a break. But of course, when we come back, David would want to understand your journey, especially when it comes to, you know, finding a good school, first of all, you know, for Tumaini that addresses all the needs, you know, that she needs and support that she needs as well. How has that been journey for you? And we'll also talk about then what are some of these gaps? What is it that we need to do? Because like we said, there's a lot that we need to do. But where exactly do we start to make sure that we promote again inclusive education throughout schools in the country? But do not forget the question that we're asking you today, and that is, how do we promote inclusive education, especially when it comes to the country? All right, we'll be reading your feedback after the break. Stay with us. This is Your World.
Are investing in the next generation of tech dreamers. Together, we harness the power of innovation. The Family Group Foundation is the anchor sustainability body for the Family Bank Group.
Big things zimecome in small packages. Kwa hivyo, usiwatch tu, shika inayokufaa. Bring it to life like YouTube Shorts with Safaricom. Kuwa ndani ya game, piga hiyo story. Shorter is now better na YouTube Shorts. Njia mpya ya kuenjoy music, comedy, sport, trends and more in short. Dandia trend. Imba ngoma yako.
Shorter is better when you are go-getter and you look too cool. You don't need no sweater. Bampika na shorts kila siku. Check stories za kila kitu. Sika 1GB na 10 ball. Dial star 544.
Now you can watch and create YouTube Shorts videos on Kenya's fastest and most reliable network.
My skin is my identity, my strength. It's unique and deserves care made specially for me. New Nivea Radiant and Beauty Advanced Care with 5 oils and 5 vitamins. 48-hour nourishment. Helps reduce appearance of stretch marks in just 2 weeks. New Nivea Radiant and Beauty Advanced Care for your shade of beautiful.
New Sensodyne Repair and Protect with Deep Repair. It's a huge game changer for me. The science is pretty amazing because it really goes deep inside the tooth and repairs tooth sensitivity. I am a happy patient. I will be able to go back to the things that I enjoy eating the most. The science is there. It's going to improve the quality of my life in a big way. The new Sensodyne Repair and Protect with Deep Repair.
Gabriel doesn't give up. If you file a case against him, he's not going to back down. And that's when you're going to need my help when that happens.
Is that so? And what do you want in exchange for that, huh?
You're really not letting this go, huh?
Fine, go on, hit me! Here, do it! Do it now if that'll make you happy!
Forever, my love.
Did you know you can open a family bank account without having to visit a branch? Simply download Pesapap app from Google Play Store or Apple Store to enjoy freedom and convenience. All you need is your ID card, KRA PIN, and camera phone.
Yeah. All right, welcome back. Glad you're still with us. Of course, the show is Your World. Very few minutes left for us to complete this conversation. But again, remember, it's all about the inclusive and special needs education. And what we're asking you is what should be done, just to make sure that we promote inclusive and for special needs in the country. What is it that, again, how do we promote inclusive education in school systems, especially right here in the country? And of course, before Eva, I ask you that question because we said there's a lot that needs to be covered as far as inclusive and special needs education is concerned. David, of course, yes, the journey towards finding that school, that will sort of like not meet maybe 100%, because again, that is still a challenge here in the country, but majority of the needs, that Tumaini has, especially when it comes to accessing quality education. What was that like for you?
First off, allow me to just start by saying that I like that you opened up by saying that education is a right. And it should be just that, a right, and not a privilege. So if the government already prescribes to it being a right, then there are certain things that it needs to understand, need to come along with offering that right. And I like what she said, accessibility. For me, that makes a lot of sense. It needs to be next to me, okay? Number two, it needs to be quality, because I need to access a quality education,
Yes.
And lastly, there has to be the appropriate thing that Tumaini actually needs, something that makes sense for her. So my journey began 12 years ago. From the get-go, I've always believed in inclusion, and I always knew that from the time I got Tumaini, that there will not be a special world for her, So as much as people are talking about special spaces and special schools, those are special worlds, all right? So once the child grows up and once I transition out of this world, I might be giving her that special world, but once I'm not there, I need to be preparing her for the transition into the real world, all right? So my journey begins, I'm a believer in inclusion, so I decide I'm not gonna look for any special school. I'm just gonna believe what the government has told me. It has me in mind, so I'm sure there must be. It's just that I've never had a special needs need. So I go out there, I get a regular school, I get Tumaini into preschool, into kindergarten, which was a big shocker for me. Because actually the first school I got, they were really genuine. They genuinely really wanted to help. But they had zero capacity. They didn't know what they were dealing with. They had the right heart, but they didn't know they didn't have what it takes
the
to
information,
the information. They didn't have trained teachers. They didn't have anything. So apart from just that, and not getting what Tumaini actually needs, it actually went a step further and got worse, because then if you have then staff that are not trained for this, now I understand maybe their patience is also tried a little bit more. Maybe they can't handle these tantrums, they can't handle these kids. So unfortunately, there was an incident, and Tumaini was abused in school by a teacher.
I'm sorry.
She used to beat her, No one used to know. She used to come home with scratches, so we'll think it's just kids scratching each other.
Yes.
And that was unfortunate. So we had to move school. I've actually moved like, I think I did like 4 preschools, just trying to find the right fit for her and never actually getting to find one. So half the schools were genuinely willing to help, but didn't have the capacity.
Yeah.
The other half knew they could not help, but they were just after my school fees, you know? So this is our predicament.
Yeah.
So half the schools you land into, you find after 2-3 terms paying high fees because you're in a special unit, and then you find out they have zilch, they don't know anything, you know? So I moved like 4 of them. Before then I stumbled onto a school called Akon. Akon, again, the thing that actually pulled me to them was their inclusivity policy. All right, so it was not about a special school. So it's called Akon Tutorials because then what they do is they transition kids through the school, prepare them for the world, and place them into regular schools.
Absolutely.
So that made perfect sense for me.
And I like that. And of course, just then let's cross to really get to understand then that aspect of inclusion.
Yes.
Because you said, and Eva said at some point, that we don't necessarily need to have a special needs sort of like a center. No, let's have them together, but let's have this. So what exactly does that look like when we talk about inclusivity and inclusion, rather?
Okay. What it means is really when you talk about inclusive education, the ideal inclusive education setup is learners with disabilities and without disabilities learning in the same space, in the same classroom, and learning, having differentiated learning. But they're growing up with their peers and they're getting what they need within the same space. Yes? So inclusive education means including those children with disabilities in the classroom of students without disabilities. And not just physically. It means also ensuring that they have the teachers. You know, the way right now Baba Tumaini has said that the schools were willing, but they did not have the capacity or they did not have the teachers. Why? Why don't you have the teachers?
Why don't you have the teachers?
If you're going to take children with special needs in your school, then you better have the teachers. Yes? Don't just say, yes, we are taking children with special needs, and you're not equipped to do that. That is wrong. It's immoral. Yeah? So what we do is, my question is, why don't schools employ teachers with special needs training? We have KISE. They are churning out teachers on an annual basis, many teachers equipped to teach these children in schools. We have universities. We have Kenyatta University, we have Moi University, we have Maseno, we have all these universities that are also churning out teachers. Why are schools taking in children with special needs and they don't have teachers and they don't have capacity? Yes? That is very unethical. It's absolutely unethical. Yes? So when we say about a child being included, then we make sure that the child needs are being met. As I said, we don't need to, parents don't need to run around looking for occupational therapy. Yeah? We have said we are including this child as a right, not a privilege. Yes? So if this child needs occupational therapy, then the school must make sure that the facilities for occupational therapy are there, and that is already part of that child's program within the inclusive school. Does the child need physiotherapy? We have children with cerebral palsy who needs physiotherapy, but intellectually they are even above their peers at functioning level. Yes? Should they be in a special school? No. They need to be with their peers. Yeah? A child who has autism, brilliant mind. Yes? And the only way he will settle is if we know that there is a sensory room somewhere. This is a tall order, but it's a manageable order. And this is what we need to start talking about now. Let's stop saying inclusive education, special education. It's education, which is a right and not a privilege. Because what is happening is that we are looking at it as a privilege. Oh, you're so privileged, you can go to this school, or you're so privileged. That is wrong. If this child has special needs, this is a Kenyan child that has special needs and is going to go to the school near their, and I keep insisting about going to their neighborhood because we are having children 5, 6 years old being shipped out to different special schools. That is wrong. Children need to be with their parents.
And I've had a number of parents who say, fine, I take my child to a special needs school. But still, it does not meet their needs. So they do not have the resources. Like we're saying, they do not have the capacity. Yes, they might have the teachers, but still, do they have the resources? Do they have, for example, the equipment that the child needs? So majority of them will actually then pull them, you know, out of the school, and you know, the journey continues of finding a school. So then, as a parent, in terms of just the schools making sure that they have all the resources, they have everything that a child needs. Majority of the schools will tell you, but we do not have the resources, we do not have funding. Funding is such a big issue. And I'm more so concerned about the public schools. Because majority of the times we see this in private schools, but what about in public schools? So David, again, what do you make of it?
Oh my God, oh my God. Public schools are already tough enough for the typical kids. So you can imagine how that terrain must be for the special kids. In terms of facilities, I mean, in our space as parents, we never even talk about public schools.
Because there's no
nothing
provision, right?
Yes. It's just all talk for me, from my government, you know, through the Ministry of Education. There's nothing that has been done on the ground, okay? So this leaves me just to try and reach out for the unreachable private schools with their exorbitant fees. Then it's just a cycle that we end up in, because I get a child with special needs, takes a lot of my time. If I was engaging in any form of income generation, then definitely it's cut. Or even disappears, you know? And here I am left again. Public schools can still help me out because my resources are still dwindling, and I need to get a place for my child. Private schools, private teachers, I mean, that's just unreachable. Let's just face it. It is just crazy. So in terms of resources, I will say in public schools there are none. So unless this conversation now just is taken to another platform where we talk about private entities, people who stepped up and come in. So as parents, we are forced to actually now come and try and actually fill in the space because they are our children. So I become proactive. That's what I decided to do. Get into as many discussions as I can, get into many policy making sittings and places I can get into. Right now I got a space into an organization called ASNEM. We just finished developing a caregiver's manual, which is one of the key things as parents we really need. You know, it's a pointer, it's a signpost, it's something I didn't have 10 years ago, you know. So parents also need to be proactive. But why do we didn't need to do this? Because the government should be doing its work, which is evidently it's not doing anything.
And I like the fact that, again, you took that step to be proactive because you know what exactly your child needs. And of course, again, like we said, Timani is a representation of so many, you know, children out there with special needs. So understanding what their needs are, it's easy for you to, you know, come about and chime in towards this is some of the things that we need. And especially we talk about policies. You know, we said we have really good policies. Implementation is usually a big problem. So then when we talk about public schools, where do we start?
I was dying for you to ask. I was actually dying for you. You know what, Winnie? The government has all the solutions. It does, But there's one thing that we are lacking is data. Data drives. It's a driver for very many interventions, Now, if we had data that would show us, for example, let's say in Nairobi County, or let's say any county, the number of learners who have special needs and disabilities, what their needs are, what is required for them, and how much does that cost? Don't you think that would be budgeted for?
It should be budgeted
Isn't it?
for.
Because we know that in this county, X county, we have 400,000. Okay, that's exaggerated. We have, let's say we have 100,000 children. Different ages. So if we knew the age group, we knew the condition, right? Then we know what resources are required. What kind of teachers do we need? What is currently existing in that area? Yes. What schools are currently there? Yes. So we do the mapping. Apart from the schools, what other services are there? Like
yes.
OT, PT, whatever is needed. What else is there? Surely, don't you think, Winnie, that if we sit around the table and we are talking about these are the number of students that are there, this is what is required, this is the different conditions, and they need a field, they need swimming. See, now CBC, we are talking about swimming.
Yes.
Yeah, why not for our children with special needs? They need swimming, they need to have their chicken there, they need to have their rabbit. Don't you think that if we sat together around that table, we've done our baseline survey, we've done our mapping, we are able to come up with a budget that is required for our children in each and every county in this country. Do you think really our children would be having a problem today? No. So the government has everything. It has everything. It has the teachers, it has the money for capitation, where we can get resources. We train the teachers how to make homemade material, learning aids. We create environments where these children can learn with their peers and just be children like all the other children, but they have been catered for, that they are now receiving an inclusive education which is effective for them and it is appropriate and it's covered by the government.
100%.
Yes, we don't need parents breaking their backs. Yeah?
Because they need to
because
take the child to that special
they're
school.
going to that place, they're going to that place. And coming back now, I'll come back to special school because Akon is a school that started off as a special school. But then you come to that realization, even these special schools can actually start practicing reverse inclusion. Where now you're a special school, but now you're receiving regular children or children without disabilities, and you're teaching them alongside the other children.
I mean, because at the end of the day, these children with special needs, they will still need to go back to what we were talking about, being, you know, interacting with their peers as well. So why not learn together?
Why not learn together? Why not learn together? Why can you, why don't, like, for example, I can give a good example of a TVET, current school for the deaf. It's a technical vocational training institution. And right now, if you go there, you will find regular, just non-disabled people learning with persons with special needs. Yes, and that is the way it is. And they're interacting, they've all learned sign language and they're interacting and they're working together. Yeah, because as Baba Tumaini said, there's not that special world out there that you'll check out of a special school and jump into a special world. No, so why don't we start preparing our children? And not just our children with special needs, but our children, all the children, learning together, seeing each other, appreciating diversity, because it's really at the end of the day, is appreciating that we are all different.
That's true.
Yeah?
That's
And
true.
if we are all different, we have gifts. We all have gifts that we can share with
gifted
each
differently.
other.
Yes.
We are gifted differently.
Yeah.
I can probably sing, and David is an artist, or you are very good in ICT, but together we are able to come up with something. And we are able to share our knowledge with each other. That's appreciating diversity. When will we start appreciating diversity? If at a very early age, our children are already segregated. You see?
We really can't,
so
we can't
inclusion
have that,
is so key right now in our country, and it's so possible. It is so easy.
I
it
mean,
is
like
so
we said
possible.
earlier on, we have a choice. And that choice, we have a choice.
Allow me please to just bring this point before it gets lost. So I like what she's saying. And where my story ends with the schooling process is that once I got into this institution that was transitioning the kids to normal schools, we found out that there was still a problem because after they're transitioned into the schools and there's still no capacity. So I still had to do another like 5 more schools, still been trying out and coming back, because Tumaini will be posted to schools, will be sent to schools, and then she will regress. So I will need to come back again to Akon. So even that system wasn't working. So what worked? So the end of the story is that we figured out at Akon together with the management, we saw that the only way this thing can work is we do the reverse inclusion. Because then we know what is needed, we know what's going on, we know we don't need 2 worlds. So then we have inclusion from a special school that realized that inclusion is the way to go, and then did the reverse, because now it has more facilities even for the regular students. So you can imagine a regular typical student coming to study in a school that started off as a special school with all these teachers who are trained, over and above,
Yeah.
all these facilities, all these things. So the kids even, I mean, that churned out from those schools, you can't even compare them to
No, you
any other
can't.
schools.
You honestly can't. And of course, there'll be the best support system
Exactly.
you know, for their
and that's
peers
how you
as
start
well.
sensitizing society from the new generation coming up.
I
Yes.
like that. But can we also talk about something else that we usually almost always forget? The parents. And the parents' needs and the parents' support, because they're the same parents who are raising these children.
Yes.
They're the same parents who are offering support to these children. So most of the time you'd find that all the energy is turned towards the child,
Yes.
that the parents sometimes forget themselves and their needs. I mean, have you ever found yourself in that situation, David, where you focused on your child and offering the best for your child, and you know?
Wow, I think that's just human nature. I mean, you want to give the best to your child, and when the situation then turns out to be like this one, then you don't even think twice. You know, you give everything of yourself. You will. I was just starting out in a small SME by the time we were blessed with Tumaini.
Yeah.
I walked away. I had to walk away. I couldn't think twice. You know. I could only get like 2 hours in the day, because by the time I do therapies 3 times in a week, that leaves me with nothing, you know. 2 days in a week, I can't build anything. So we never think about ourselves. Again, we never even go back to, we never come across, I even want to throw this out right now, with the support systems for like the counselors and all that.
Yeah.
It's very rare to find one that actually, very few actually understand our situation. And we need someone who actually tells us that we need the support. We need the support because we are our children's advocates, you know. So if the advocate is down, so guess what is also going to happen to the child? I will not even get the child to any professional to help them. So the parents really are at a very disadvantaged spot. This is the one space that is very lonely, I repeat again. And not because of our making, you know. It's because both the child and the parent are in need of support. Are in need of support. And parents out there, we need to realize that. We need to recharge. We need to realize we need to be sober. We need to be strong enough. We need to re-energize. And we need to actually reach out to professionals to know which way to go.
Absolutely. And seeking help is absolutely okay. It's absolutely okay. So then moving forward, maybe a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, what sort of conversations would you want to see as a parent?
Moving forward, the first thing I would like to see is a society at large stepping in, the whole society. I would like this conversation of inclusion to stop being minimized to only being education, inclusion, okay? It's our lifestyle. It's everything we do. So I would like to see society shift their mindset and the way they look at this space and these issues. Because for me, it is very simple. It is not scientific. It is not a very hard thing. It is not rocket science. It is just that exclusion just means you just made certain things available for just a certain section of society. That's all it means, you know. If you go to the mall, I'm a father with a daughter, and she needs to go to the bathroom, and there's no in between. There's only male and female, you know. So what does that mean? The facility excluded the father who had the
girl
and the mother who had the boy. You know, it's as simple as that. So I just want to see society rethink and rechange the way they look at this whole thing. Government, I would also like to see them implement the very, very good policies that have already been formulated. We have one of the best policies ever. So in terms of education now, when you go into that section, then the thing that I would really pray to see and I really hope to see is that we will finally have quality education, inclusive education in schools. What does that mean? Basically, for me as a parent, it just means I just need education that meets the social needs of Tumaini, her emotional needs, her cognitive needs, her physical needs, you know, her mental needs, and not just intellectual and the curricula that has been. And when I talk about quality education, that it means we have been excluded because the curricula does not
It's not allow, yes.
it doesn't allow. It
Yeah,
has
yeah.
no corner
Yeah.
where Tumaini can say, I can see where I fit into this curricula, you know?
I hear
That's
you.
what I'm saying.
I hear you, David. And Eva, because we need to literally end the show right now, but of course we cannot end without also getting to hear from you in terms of the inclusion conversation, especially when it comes to, you know, education for all our children. It doesn't matter. Very quickly, what would you say?
Yeah, I think this is a good point to also mention that next week we're going to have a conference. And our conference is called Ubuntu.
Okay.
Ubuntu means community. I am who I am because we are. Yes? So it's called the Ubuntu, Special Needs and Inclusive Education. So what are we doing? This will be held at Kenya Institute of Special Education. What are we doing? We are bringing in all the key players. We are bringing in caregivers. We are bringing in the government. We're bringing in specialists, teachers, and persons themselves who have, with disabilities, who have gone through school. So we are having a discussion. So may this be the beginning of a bigger, wider, deeper discussion. So we want to bring in all the stakeholders and let's listen to each other.
All right.
Can we start forging a way forward?
Yes.
Yes? So for me, once we get out of that conference, we probably may have a few solutions on the way forward.
On the way forward.
Yes.
Yes, and we need those solutions.
We need the
Like we said, we do not have a choice.
Exactly.
Thank you very much to both
Thank
of you for
you.
having such a insightful conversation. Even UK Chair, Africa Special Needs Network, as well as David Waweru Mbao, who is a parent. Thank you so much, really, for coming
so
by
much,
today. Wow, you know what? Perspective completely changed. And of course, I hope that you've picked so much from today's conversation. We have to end the show right now. But remember what the Sustainable Development Goal number 4 actually says, that inclusive and equitable education and promotion of lifelong learning opportunities for all. All right, for all. So that is where we have to end the conversation. But remember, it continues online. That is at NTV Kenya at Lubembe_Winnie. But for now, it is goodbye. I'll see you tomorrow morning, same time, same place. But until then, stay safe and God bless, and let's embrace one another. Goodbye for now.